You are missing out big time if you are not subscribed to NewOrleans.Football. We're letting out the show early on that site every single time that we record it, 3 times a week. And then tomorrow, Tuesday, the Saints are back at OTAs. We're going to do a show immediately after we're done covering the practices. That's going to go out on NewOrleans.Football and be available to subscribers on Tuesday. Everybody else is going to get it on Wednesday night. So make sure you sign up to the site, get everything early, but then get exclusive access to our news, our analysis. Brandon's got some video features coming. We got a lot of great stuff coming on the site, stuff that we're already doing on the site, and you can get it all for 20% off on your first payment by using the code NOF. Visit NewOrleans.Football/subscribe, plug in that code, take 20% off your first payment, get locked in for the whole entire season, and make sure you are getting all of our coverage. Welcome back to another episode of NewOrleans.Football presented by PJ's Coffee. We're coming to you from our studio next door to Matt Bowers on Veterans Memorial Boulevard. Make sure you go check out Matt if you are in the market for a new car. He'll get you the best price, the best customer care, the best car buying experience that you can find. Check him out at one of his many dealerships throughout the region. The pricing, the customer experience, all that is the same at every single one. We're going to get into a lot of talk about the Saints today. We're going to talk about that upcoming OTA. We're going to talk about who has the most to gain, who has the most to lose this season, and so much more. So stick with us after this quick break from our great sponsors who help us put on the show. Make sure you check them out because they help us out. The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. This Father's Day, show your dad you appreciate his unique style with a Breitling watch from Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. Make sure you're ready for the day. Father's Day is June 16th. And if not, maybe you just want to treat yourself. Smash that presentation, nail that deal, achieve that goal. Get yourself a Breitling watch from Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers, 7713 Maple Street between Adams and Burdett, Uptown, 504-866-5433, or visit them at friendandcompany.com. Hard Hide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. All right, let's get into the show. All right, welcome in. I'm Nick Underhill here with Mike Triplett and Brandon Thomas, and it is now time for the lead presented by Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers is the official jeweler of the New Orleans Saints, and they should be your official home for Father's Day. That's coming up really, really quick here, about 2 weeks away, coming up in June. So make sure you go there, get your dad a Breitling watch, get yourself one while you're there, and while you're there, check out their Florida Lead necklace and earrings that you see on your screen right now. They are specially priced for our NOF audience. The earrings are $1,100, and the necklace is $1,350.
Lead topic: which Saints have the most to gain or lose this season? This offseason, we've talked a lot about which players could cause and made the most breaks with the Saints' fortunes, but what about the players themselves? And for that fact, what about the coaches too? Who has the most to gain or lose about how they perform in 2024?
I mean, for me, look, we got a couple guys on the screen here, and they're the guys in the final years of their contracts: Juwan Johnson, Pete Werner, Paulson Adebo. But I think start of the list, top of the list for me, I think it's Alvin Kamara. I think he's the guy that has the most to gain or lose this season. He could really up his production, I think, in this offense. It should be suited to him. If they block well, I think everything's there for him. And he is technically in the final year of his contract.
Basically,
because they aren't going to
pay him. He's not a free
him.
Agent, but he is.
Yeah,
he's due $25 million next year.
Yeah, they aren't paying him $25 million, so he's going to end up either signing an extension or getting released after this season. And I really think he has to make his case. I think he really does. And I don't know how that one's going to go. I think Alvin probably does maintain kind of that lead in the RB1 race the whole entire year. But I think at the end of the season, you're going to feel good about the future. And he's got to make sure that he feels that he's making them feel like they can't lose him. Like there is something major to lose there. Yeah. Because to get a third contract as a running back and to kind of keep your career going with the same team, it's kind of rare. Like especially at the money that he's probably going to be able to demand somewhere. So if he wants it to be here, I think he really, really has to make a case. And if he doesn't, I think they probably move on.
Everything you just said is totally fair. Anybody going into the final year of their contract is an answer to this list, obviously. And the ones who are officially going into the final year of their contract, 3 we just mentioned: Juwan Johnson, Pete Werner, Paulson Adebo, Chase Young. He's just on a 1-year deal. Willie Gay Jr. is just on a 1-year deal. Peyton Turner, because they didn't pick up the 5th-year extension. Those guys are guys who are going into the final year of their deal. Alvin didn't jump out to me as much because I just don't think there's as much variance with Alvin. I think Alvin's age, an end is going to come at some point, and maybe the Saints next year are going to decide to move on from him. But I don't know how much Alvin Kamara can change your opinion of who he is and what he is. Some of these other guys on the list can, though. I still, 5-6 years into Juwan Johnson's career, don't know what Juwan Johnson is. He needs to show me this year. He needs to show the Saints this year. He could get more than the $6 million he's making now if he finally breaks out, or they could just be done with him. I mean, he reminds me a little of sort of like Traquan Smith's career arc right now. Pete Werner, obviously, they brought the heat. They brought in Willie Gay Jr. He seemed like the heir apparent to DeMario Davis, but now he really needs to prove it. Otherwise, he could be gone after this year. Paulson Adebo is a little different than those other guys because he has the chance to prove he's in like an upper echelon, like franchise tag type $15-20 million guys. But to me, the ones that stood out most are the guys who their careers just might be over if they don't do it this year. It's the same guys we talk about all the time, Trevor Penning and Peyton Turner. It's time for both of them to show, is there anything here? I mean, I guess maybe Trevor Penning gets another year with this team. No matter what, his salary is going to be guaranteed. But both of them, like the clock is at 11:59 on both those guys. Those are the top 2 on my list.
Yeah, I think Peyton Turner really has to show, like, they already didn't pick up his 5th-year option, so he has to show that it's his time.
I disagree a little bit about the perception of Alvin. I mean,
sure.
If you look at the yards per carry over his career, 6.1, 4.6, 4.75, and that was in 2020. And since then, his numbers suggest that he's in steep decline. 3.7, 4, 3.9. Like those are kind of.
But I think
numbers.
he is. I guess what I'm saying is, what do you think Alvin could do this year that would make them think, oh, he found the fountain of youth? Like
I don't think he has to convince him that he found the fountain of youth or anything like that. I think that there's a belief amongst probably us. I think we probably all share the same belief that they've kind of failed him a little bit. They haven't blocked well enough. They haven't built the run game well enough. I believe that feeling, based on conversations I've had with people, is shared to a pretty high degree within the building. But if you block it well, and then he's still at 3.9 yards per carry, and you don't have anyone to blame, I think there is something to lose, and I think there is something to gain. And I think even just the perception globally is probably people that aren't looking at it closely probably see 5 is the high point, and then 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, chugga. Like it's going to keep going down kind of the way it goes. So I think there is some.
I think it's going to be really hard for him to counter that. Like I think he's highly, highly respected, more than his numbers show. But at the same time, I mean, I don't know what he could possibly do to not be judged by, well, you're a running back who's 8 years in and turning 30 next year. I mean, Derrick Henry's not on his team anymore. Austin Eckler's not on his team anymore. Like, I think it'd be hard for Alvin to gain a lot more. I mean, he could probably get a couple year extension. I don't know that he could get like a big third contract.
Yeah, I think that's it though. Like I think he could gain more time here. I think if he makes himself appear to be like a key part of this offense, like a McCaffrey type of role, like maybe not to that level, but you can kind of make him the identity of the offense. I think there is a lot to gain, and I think this offense could really give him a really good opportunity to kind of do that.
The number one answer on this list is probably Chase Young, though.
Chase Young, for sure.
Yeah,
for
sure. I mean, he's a guy. I guess technically Paulson Adebo's close into a big year could get him offers of $16 million plus next year, but Chase Young could be a $20 million player next year if he looks good. Like he's the only guy on this list that could be anywhere near that threshold. And people will keep giving him chances since he's still like 24 years old or maybe turned 25. So I think people still give him chances if he comes back from the neck surgery and he just looks okay. But most to gain, he could skyrocket this.
Oh, no doubt about it. And look, I think an obvious one here too is Dennis Allen, of course. Like,
Dennis Allen. Yeah. No question. He might be number one. He might be most to lose, honestly.
And he might be most to gain, too. Yeah. If they win 10, 11 games and this offense looks as good as his defense does and it all kind of comes together, all of a sudden it starts to look like, wait, he brought him back from 7 wins and he's been building towards something. And then maybe people start noticing, wait a minute, like he's done a really good job of recruiting everybody that he's wanted and he actually gets the guys that he wants. And part of that's that we don't know everybody that they're recruiting anymore. We used to hear it was loud every single time, so you knew all the misses.
Yeah.
But look, they've done a good job of recruiting. But if he has a good season, I think it changes.
He's right up at the top of my list. I mean, there's a lot of good candidates for number one on the list. Technically, Clint Kubiak, I think he would still keep getting chances if it doesn't work here. But this is his show. This is his offense. Eyes are going to be on. This is his third time being an offensive coordinator. Like, at a certain point, he's going to have to show. Like, if he wants to be one of the guys, like this is the one where he's getting the keys to the car. Another name I have on here is Alontae Taylor as a guy who, you know, if he lets himself get beat out and finishes fourth, how many more chances is he going to keep getting? Or he could do like what Paulson Adebo did last year and just hold everyone else off and really break out in year three. Couple smaller names out there. Landon Young's going into the final year of his contract. I think he would need to do something, but the big ones, yeah. Dennis Allen. What about Derek Carr? Does Derek Carr belong on this list?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he definitely has something to gain. I think. I don't think he could probably.
That's what I was about to ask. What's the loss? Like, what does the loss even look like for him in terms of like he's still on the contract?
He doesn't feel like a bottom could drop out guy. He kind of feels like he could slightly improve his perception or like. It doesn't. I mean, he's the quarterback. Of course, there's the most to gain. Like, has Kirk Cousins changed his perception? Well, Jared Goff has. I mean, I guess if he went on a run like Jared Goff has over the last 2 years, he could completely change everyone's perception of him. It doesn't feel like there's that much variance with him, maybe, but
I think there is. I think there's more upside than we saw last year. We're going to talk about him a little bit later, so I don't want to. I don't want to give it all away now, but I think he belongs on the list. And I feel like last year was probably about as rough as it probably could have gone for him.
Yeah.
And one more name, Chris Olave. We mentioned this in the overtime segment. Was it overtime or did we use it as a Martin's question?
About the contract?
In the last one, that Chris Olave will be first eligible for a contract extension next year. If he's good enough this year, he gets himself into that conversation with the elite 10 receivers who are now starting to make $30 million a year. I don't know that, like, I'd be surprised if Chris Olave, like, was so much better that he's already so highly thought of, and I can't imagine him dropping off to the point where he's not believed. So I don't know if he's probably the most expensive player on here, and his contract could potentially skyrocket. But I don't know if he qualifies for this because I just think he's understood as one of the foundational young players on this team.
I think he can lift it, though. I really do.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about it over and over, just about that dip in the middle of the season where things kind of fell off. In what was it? There was a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 game stretch where he went 4 yards, 12 yards, 96, 57, 46, 46 when he was just kind of trying to figure things out. 261 yards over a 6-game span. I mean, and then he had the ankle injury at the end of the season where he had 26 yards, 56 yards to kind of close it out. I mean, if he's healthy and they don't have these like ups and downs all season, like I think he can really elevate.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, we'll get a chance to see these guys tomorrow at practice because tomorrow is the second OTA. Our next segment presented by Hard High Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey. It's week 2 of OTAs, and you already know we're going to have the best coverage out there. Make sure you subscribe to NewOrleans.Football. But what are you most excited to see tomorrow at the second OTA?
It's still going to be the offensive lineman. I mean, that's the first thing I'm going to look at. Are they doing the same thing they did last week? Are they, the way they're doing OTAs, we're going out there on Tuesday, Wednesday. They're going out there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We're seeing Tuesdays. So we don't automatically know for 100% sure that if we see Penning at right tackle and Saldivari at left guard, that means, they're doing this every day. Maybe they start the week doing that. But I am curious if we're seeing the same alignment. Are those guys getting the first team reps? Is it still Talifuaga at left tackle? And then how do those guys look? I mean, it's hard to judge when they're in, not fully padded and not doing full contact, but that's what all eyes are on. And then, I won't go down the whole list, but of course, the easiest thing to watch, I'm going to keep watching everything Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener do. I'm really excited to see them on this team.
Yeah, definitely O-line is so it's the story of the season. It's going to be every single day. I have heard that Penning is playing right tackle every single day. Okay. So we'll see if that continues this week. But last week that was
they made it sound like that. Yeah. Dennis Allen didn't downplay last week and say, "Oh no, look, we're going to do a lot of rotating." He goes, "No, this is what we're starting with, and we're going to go with it for a while." So yeah, that matches what he said.
And I think it should go like just put them there, lock it in, and if you got to flip it at the end. I think they feel good about it though. To this point, we'll see how it goes from there. But definitely the biggest story. It's going to be the story every day. We're going to lead every single day at training camp with it until we get into the first preseason game, and then you're going to finally see something and then judge that, and then it's going to be like, well, that was 6 snaps, and we're going to keep talking about it's the story of the season, no doubt about it. I kind of want to see the install and where it's at. Like we saw motion and stuff in the first practice. Like it's like, wow, this is like part of the base installation.
Yeah.
That was kind of like install everything and then figure out how to fit the stuff in at the end before. I want to see kind of just what they're building on top of that. I want to see how much fullback Taysom's playing. Is that was that day one, or is it kind of as you get deeper into the playbook, is it still there? Look to see if any of the guys that were missing are back. I doubt it.
Did we mention on the show? I know you had heard on Jordan Howden why we weren't seeing him participate. Have we ever mentioned that on the show? Like that he's
dealing with a little injury,
but it's supposed to be just like minor, and he's still.
Yeah, he took part in the walkthrough too, so I don't think it's anything crazy. But I don't think we're going to see him really.
Could he be back as quickly as this week, or maybe not?
I doubt this week, but I mean, I think probably training camp. I honestly don't know. I'm guessing, but I don't think it's. I think he's going to probably be out there in a similar capacity, but I doubt he's going to be getting banged up or anything like that. I want to see some of the guys.
Chase Young and Kool-Aid McKinstry, but a couple guys could be back.
Marshawn was in his IG story. He's still in Cleveland, so I don't think we're going to see him. That's kind of the one you're looking for.
He would vault to number 1 on the list if he showed up. Yeah,
easily.
I'm not expecting to see Alvin either, but we'll keep an eye out to see who's out there. But I mean, I think those are the biggest things for me for sure.
Yeah, one thing that I had on my list is like if Rattler can close the gap at QB2, because he's getting more NFL practices under his belt, and Jake, he had him beat by a year and some change. So if Rattler can start closing that gap and look more in control in the offense, I think that'll be a good thing too.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. I mean, it's definitely something we're going to keep an eye on. I don't know if I'm reaching conclusions yet. I think it's early. Haener has been in the NFL, like all those jitters and all that stuff, like they're gone. They're dissipated. But, I mean, there was definitely clearly day one of practice. You go out there, you don't know anything about him. I mean, there was clearly a QB2, clearly a QB3. Haener looked great. Like, he looked really good out there. I want to see Carr open it up a little bit more in the next practice, too. Like, it was kind of, it was just, you take what's there, that's great. Like, I just want to see, you always want to see a big play at some point. But I thought he commanded it really well. I thought Haener commanded it really well. And, Rattler definitely, there's a gap. Like, so, I mean, even if we're watching to see if he can close it, like, we're also watching to see how wide it ends up getting open. So, I mean, it is a big story. That's another one that's going to kind of carry us all throughout training camp, I think. Yeah,
this is going to sound weird, but I kind of want to. I kind of want to see him make mistakes, because you had an article detailing the new accountability standard that's in the building. You can only catch that on NewOrleans.Football, but you already knew that. But I want to see like how people are being taken to task and being broken down and made to be accountable in this office. Can you just detail just a little bit? Don't give away the whole thing. Just a little bit about what you found out.
Yeah, they're going harder on corrections and all that stuff, and it's definitely something. Look, we heard a lot last year about how it was the opposite, and then coming in right away, that's kind of the big thing. Like, hey, what's different? This is different, and it's definitely something that they are just making integral to the offensive program that I think has been lacking for a few years.
When you said this is going to sound weird, I thought you were. I just read your mind wrong that you were going to say kicker and punter, but that's on my list too.
Yeah,
especially
break it
after
down.
Nick
break
said
it down,
he was
man.
impressed with Charlie Smythe last week, and now Lou Headley threw the gauntlet down. Maybe we'll get a look at the undrafted rookie there. Those battles, every time we get a glimpse, they're going to be interesting.
Yeah, definitely interested to see what happens. But coming up, we'll detail how Derek Carr can improve in this upcoming season and break down the Martin's question of the day. Keep it locked in NewOrleans.Football.
Total Maintenance is one of the largest locally owned home and commercial service providers in South Louisiana. They were founded in 1980 and serve the greater New Orleans and Baton Rouge markets. And Total Maintenance wants to show some love to our NOF listeners. They have a membership program that gets you 2 tune-up visits for AC and heating, as well as club membership discounts of 15% on all repairs, half off of all diagnostic charges, and 3-year warranties on most repairs for membership clients. This is usually priced at the low price of $24.95 a month per system, but if you tell Total Maintenance that you found them through NOF, they'll lower the price to $20.95 per month per system for as long as you keep the membership active. It will never increase. Total Maintenance has a tune-up special running this summer for $79, down from the normal price of $179. This is a one-time offer for one system only. They also offer a free diagnostic on second opinions on units deemed to be unrepairable, and they offer free estimates for replacements as well as commercial maintenance programs. Services include AC and heating service and replacement, electrical service, plumbing service, as well as generator service and installation. They are Total Maintenance. Find them at tm-ac.com or give them a call at 504-841-3300, or if you're in the Baton Rouge area, 225-480-1000.
Are you tired of renting and ready to own your dream home? Contact Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union, your trusted source for home loans. Our competitive rates and flexible terms can help make your home ownership dreams a reality. If you're a first-time home buyer or looking to refinance, our experienced lenders are here to help. Our online application process allows you to apply on your schedule. It's quick, easy, and convenient. Visit us online at jeffersonfinancial.org to learn more. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience.
Welcome back to our studio on Veterans Memorial Boulevard. It is now time for our money segment presented by Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union. Derek Carr finished last season so strong that his final numbers probably are better than people think. Let's get down into those numbers with this graphic on screen. He had a 68.4 completion percentage. He threw for 3,878 passing yards, 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. He took 31 sacks, and he had a passer rating of 97.7. I think we'd all agree that, we need to see more consistency from the beginning of the season to end, and probably a better rapport with the wide receivers. That should come just due to the time that he's been surrounded by players like Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed. But how far off are those numbers from the bottom line that we need to see from Derek Carr?
Yeah, so, look, I think one of the things people don't probably realize, and I know passer rating itself isn't the end-all be-all statistic.
That's way higher than I bet anyone would have guessed.
Yeah,
sure.
97.7.
Yes, and it's above Jordan Love. It's above Baker Mayfield. It's above Justin Herbert, Stafford, Josh Allen, Geno Smith, Joe Burrow, Joe Flacco, Kyler Murray. Like
Flacco.
Damn.
Flacco. You got Mahomes was at 92.6. Like, he had an efficient season.
Yeah.
He had an efficient season.
I
like,
knew
it is not the
he
best
finished
stat
stronger
in the world.
than, and I would not have guessed that number. I guarantee if you polled our audience, like 97.7% of the audience would have guessed under that number.
And look, there's the other one, the QBR. He was 16th in that. That's about what you would probably kind of more expect. But, the passer rating number was crazy. But that's what you get when you only throw 8 picks. That's kind of how it goes. He avoided a lot of danger in his Rocky as it went. I don't think last year, like statistically, it wasn't terrible. I think if he inverted his season kind of and you played it in reverse, sort of like the Damn album, if you play it backwards, you get a different experience than if you play it forward. If you flip it and play it in reverse, like, I think you get a whole different narrative. It's a whole different storyline.
Duckworth just changes the way you think about everything.
Yeah, and if you start out with that, and it's the strongest song on the whole album, great album, but it's the strongest song on the album. His end was better than the beginning, and if you play it that way, I think if you had that initial impression all throughout, you end it kind of with hope. I was talking to a guy at Cava this afternoon. I think his name was Tyrone. He came up and we were talking about the season, and he's like, what do you think? What do you think? And I'm like, probably 9 wins, but it'll be a more optimistic 9. I think they could do the same thing as last year, but I think you might end up feeling better about it just depending on how the story kind of comes together. And I think the Saints are kind of in the same boat. If you just flip the season on its head, I think you feel entirely differently about the Saints. It would have been they were a 9-win team that was fighting to try to get in the playoffs. Yeah. Quarterback gets hurt.
Well, they were 5-7 at one point.
Quarterback gets hurt. Some things kind of change up a little bit. And it's just this isn't terrible, but they were terrible and then found a way to get good. I feel like Carr kind of went in the same way. It was disappointing and then mediocre and then he found a way to be good at the end. Yeah. I think if you could do the same thing in just a different fashion, tell the story a little bit differently, but you still have all the same pieces, I think that there's a possibility of increased perception.
Yeah, no question. Like, part of me wants to say, sign me up for these numbers. If they can fix a lot of the other things that are broken, that's all the Saints need out of Carr. 25 TDs is a fairly low number. It matches his career total. He's only hit 30 once in his entire career. So don't expect all of a sudden 35, 40 TDs from Derek Carr. But obviously, we talked about the red zone a lot last year. He needs to be more efficient in the red zone. He needs to be more efficient in the red zone. The Saints' offensive play calling and just, effectiveness overall needs to be better in the red zone. Clint Kubiak said he likes to run. He likes to do good on the base downs in the red zone. So they just need to be more efficient in that area. And, yeah, I mean, there were a couple of things that just surprised me about timing every once in a while. Like, I was surprised that he wasn't more efficient throwing, like, slant passes and stuff. But that's all nitpick. I mean, if he's going to complete 68% of his passes and only have 8 interceptions, 3 lost fumbles, I mean, if that's the kind of efficiency we're talking about, I'm not gonna nitpick over that stuff quite as much. But yeah, I mean, I'd say things just like situationally, red zone, third down. But for the most part, 38-78 is a little small. Obviously, you'd like to see more like 4,200 and 32 TDs or something like that, but they can win with this.
No, definitely. A number that stood out to me was the 31 sacks that he took last year. And, I know that doesn't directly all the way have to go with the O-line because you can choose to, just absorb it or try to roll out. And his feet aren't always the best. And I saw that they were working with him on that last week at OTAs. But the way I see it, it's kind of like you could have a table, it has 4 legs, but like it doesn't have one of the little bumper things on the bottom. So like if you put weight on one side, it starts leaning back and forth. If the Saints could just stabilize that table and have Carr just with a consistent offensive line, he has no choice but to be better.
That was an amazing analogy for the Saints
It is,
offense.
but like 31 is not even terrible though.
No,
like Sam Howell had 65. Like if you could take 31 and just get it down to 24, like you have like an outstanding offensive line.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Not to put a whole nother leg, just to put a little bumper under the bottom.
Yeah, that's it. That's all they need. Like it was close to being pretty good.
31 is, I mean, the Saints as a team gave up 35 sacks last year. That put them in the top 8 in the NFL, like best 8. Like there were only 7 teams with fewer sacks than the Saints allowed last year.
Yep.
And it felt like that was a struggle.
Yeah, definitely. Well, now it's time for our Martin Wine and Spirits question of the day. Martin's is home to a wide selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and more. Martin's, so much more than just wine. Today's question comes from Paul Kristen. He asks, with the offensive line consisting of young players, could it actually be a blessing in disguise?
I've got 2 answers to this. One is, yeah, I think I asked a similar question when we were first talking about the Ryan Ramczyk situation and how the Saints are trying to catch up on the salary cap. They're trying to save money here and there. And now the $20 million a year they're paying Ryan Ramczyk, that's a player they're not paying $20 million a year to. It's sort of forcing them to reset, whether they wanted to reset or not. That's not automatically a horrible thing. But and so, yeah, being younger and cheaper, it's what the Houston Texans are doing. It's what the Green Bay Packers are doing. Like, that's a good model. But as Nick said, it's the hardest position to do it at because if, that's the one thing you need to fortify because it makes everything else go around it. The running backs are going to get beat up. Derek Carr is going to beat up if they can't trust the offensive line. So if it's a good, cheap, young offensive line, it could be a blessing in disguise. Mm-hmm. It's the last position where you kind of want to go cheap, though.
Yeah, if you don't have an offensive line, you don't have anything.
Yeah.
But you don't have an offense. Like if you can't block, it's an interesting question. Like, would you rather be taping it together or building it up? And I don't know the answer to that. Like, I really don't. Like, I don't know if I want to be out there with a broken down guy because I feel like it's going to fall apart at some point. If you're with the young guy, you're trying to build him up. At least he probably doesn't get broken down, but he might not ever figure it out. I don't really know. So, if the questions, would you rather be trying to glue Ramczyk together or go at it with somebody that doesn't have an answer? I probably take Ramczyk in that scenario.
Or even would you rather have Nick Saldiveri and Landon Young starting, or James Hurst and Oli Udoh, or Mekhi Becton, or whatever, or Andrus Peat? Like, would you rather have mid Young or mid? Well, I could trust him a little more. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
in that scenario, like if you're talking about like having 5 that could be a 7 or a 6 that's going to be a 6 the whole entire year, I'm probably going to go with the 5 that might have the chance of dropping down to a 4. But if you're talking about the other one, the Ramczyk versus the Penning or whatever, Ramczyk versus whoever, Uli Udo, I'd probably, if there was a possibility of just wrapping enough tape around Ramczyk's leg to get him out there, I'd probably go with Ramczyk at that point.
I definitely agree with what you was gonna say, Mike.
Well, just straight up question: would you rather throw Nick Saldivari out there, or would you have rather paid enough money to get Andres Pete back out there at left guard? Like, let's say that one choice alone. What do you like better?
Weird answer here, but I feel like there's so much uncertainty that I like. What's the point of just shoring up the one if you have question marks at two others? Like, if you're just going to be trying to figure it all out, just try to figure it all out. Do we know what Pete got paid yet? Is that
I
out
have
there
not
yet?
seen that contract come in or be reported yet.
Interesting. Let me see if we got it real quick. Somebody just
I think,
filibuster.
yeah, I was about to say, I think, in all honesty, I would rather have the young guys because, especially like how you detailed, not really saying that Doug Marrone wasn't doing that, but with John Benton, it gives them a chance to really grow people and see different learning techniques than the guys who've already previously been here.
Yeah, it's such I mean, this is a true conundrum that you could have all over the NFL. Is there are a lot of 28-year-old, I have 30 career starts, I know what I'm doing, you can throw me out there, versus the ceiling and the floor almost touch each other.
Right.
Yeah, and
what you got, Nick?
Man, I don't know. I think I'd take Pete.
It was
1
cheap.
year,
What do you
$2
get?
million.
That's it, huh?
What?
$450,000 total guarantee. 1,200,000. Ooh.
Bring him in.
Ooh.
Bring him in. You get 75 back and everything. Bring him in.
Yeah, I probably go with him. I think I have to. $2 million.
Well, he wasn't too expensive.
I can't
Yeah,
believe
for sure.
they I guess he really did
He
just
just
want to
needed-
move on.
yeah.
He really did just want to move on. And I totally understand that. I mean, it was kind of a rough place over time. I mean, look, even when he left, like that was just all people were just making fun of him still. Like, I don't care how much money you make at some point, it's probably just like I'm tired of this. Like
Yeah.
I would be tired of it too at a certain point. So I don't blame him for needing that fresh start. I think it's probably good for his mental health, like honestly.
That's literally what I was about to say. I was about to say he's probably tired of just like going through those mental gymnastics. His body, is at wherever it's going to be, but that's a whole nother hurdle before you even touch the field. So
Yeah, sometimes it's a little bit. It gets to be harder to be like unappreciated at home versus like let a stranger say. It's just
Facts.
kind of
No,
thing.
that's
Like
facts.
like my people can't say this, but like I could deal with it somewhere. Yeah,
right. Yeah, on the street it don't make no difference. Yeah.
He's an Arizona guy, moved to Vegas too.
Yeah,
there
that's
you go.
close. Family growing, everything like
Dad
that.
played
so
for the Raiders.
There you go. Making it happen. Well, that'll do it for this episode of NewOrleans.Football. For our live viewers, we appreciate y'all for stopping in. You'll be rewarded with overtime. And for those who aren't signed up yet, literally, what are you doing? Get on board. I promise you won't regret it because tomorrow is OTA availability date 2. And NewOrleans.Football is going to have all the coverage from end to end. We're going to catch you next time and stick around for overtime.